All right, so let me check okay, so this is the screen number one. All right, so I believe you can see my screen showing the our Canvas website. Okay, so it's been a while to see you. Yes, I'm so sorry for the delays of the uploading the materials of replacing our attendance and as the asynchronous lecture as a macro classes. Yeah, my voice got much better, but last week my voice was almost gone with the many of the stuffy nose and other issues and other tech issues as well. So this is our website, as you could see, of the sociology of disaster. And week number 10, there was the May 4th and the May 5th. And on May 4th, yeah, I was out of town because of the invited talk at Hongkong University. So and then the May 5th as the national holiday as the Children's Day. So those 2 days were the reported to have the maker classes as these were we didn't have the in-person classes after reporting to the Gyomuhasa team, which is the main administrative staff. And then so my videos, my videos replacing, making up the like in-person lectures. So this is an asynchronous format, you can watch my video or leaving the lecture slide already uploaded in here as as you always do. These are the more background with the more visualization, but based on more comments that on some types of these visualizations were hard to summarize for the exam. So I always prepare the more detailed version of the PowerPoint. So you can, yeah, as you always do. Sorry. Still not good. Yeah, so you can read over those two on the lecture slides, and then you can watch my video, or you can watch my video and then you can read over those lecture slides, vice versa. So it's totally up to you. So that will be totally based on your choice. So you can do whatever you want. And after watching those two videos or reading those two the lecture slides, and you can try to work on those two in-class activities. So we usually had the one class in-class activities, but based on some of the comments of yours, you might or you wanted to have some more on the in-class activity, more practical activities. So yeah, I do two activities. The replacing the attendance of the two each days of the class. The one as the on the asynchronous format because of my the invited talk at Hongkong University. And May 5th, it's a little bit confusing, but this is the asynchronous format of the replacing the May 4th. And the May 5th would be that will be the national holiday, but we have to make up the proportion of the class. So after if you finish the in-class activity, replacing the May 4th. Yeah, I will count it as the May 5th one. So I could not change it. I could not change it. Let me try. Oh, I can change it. All right, so this is the May 4th. All right, so this is the May 4th. I will I will check your attendance by the ma- by using this record of the in-class activity one. And for the May 5th one, you can utilize this one. If after you complete and submit the in-class activity two, I will make it as the replace format of the attendance check of the May 5th. So yeah, as long as you turn in those two assignments within 2 weeks. So I gave you very enough time. As today is the May 11th, but you can submit them as the by May 25th by the 9th. So after that, you will satisfy the attendance and you can read over those articles as a no 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 you can read over those two lecture slides and you can watch my lecture video I'm recording. Then you will be done about the week 10, the aspects. All right, so as always do, okay, we can start from the lecture slide here. So the topic of the week 10 is earthquake and tsunami. So these are not very familiar to the Korean residents because the earthquake very rarely happens in South Korea, and tsunami. We're not sure about the future, but as far as 2026, there are very less likelihood of having the tsunami in the West Sea, I mean the Seohae and the southern part of the southern South Sea of the South Korea or East Sea of South Korea. There are very less likelihood of the tsunami as well because most likely and very, very usually tsunamis are happening because of the earthquake in the country, but not happening a lot. But in our neighborhood country, Japan, might be very, very exemplary places of the having the tsunami and the earthquake. So we can use many of the case studies using the Japanese context, and then you can go over some other types of the incidents outside of the Asian context, such as the Haiti or Sri Lanka or other countries. All right, so earthquake means in definition in dictionary, an earthquake is a sudden and violent shaking of the earth's surface and is caused by the movement of the tectonic the plates beneath the earth's crust. So maybe I don't need to read over them, but as you always know in the common sense, these are the massive levels of the quake. And then there are very sudden types of the vibrations, I mean, the movement of the plates on the crust of the earth. So this is very a natural phenomenon, but as you learned so far, as we have learned so far, there are many types of the theories describing the vulnerabilities to the specific people or the groups of the people, and how those the unequal impacts to the vulnerable groups might be explained, and how these inequalities could be possible, which kind of the pathway and the mechanisms or pathways are contributing these types of the inequality. So these might be the main causes and the main effects we can learn in this week. All right, so these are the scenes in the Japan, in San Francisco, and these are the some of the AI images of the tsunami, because usually we cannot take the pictures like that. But these are some of the imagine some of the major scenes and some of the very depicted, very greatly depicted images of the tsunami and earthquake. So let's suppose that this is not unreal, but let's suppose that what if 1 million, the 1 million people are killed by an earthquake and a tsunami in South Korea. So based on compared with the population in 2025 in South Korea, this is compatible with the 2% of the population. So you may feel that 2% is not very big number, for sure, but 1 million. So let's suppose that 1 million people passed away because of the one disaster, such as the earthquake or tsunami. This is the the chaotic situation, right? Big disaster because the killing the people, about the 2% of the population, that shall be a super great and huge amount of the disaster. So let's suppose that, and then let's compare the real example. All right. So the reason why I derived that example is the in Haiti, in 2010 in Haiti, because of the earthquake in Haiti area, there were 200,000 people and they were killed by the earthquake. So based on the estimation, there are many variations of the number. And based on the University of Michigan's estimation, they thought that there were 300,000 people killed by the earthquake. But based on very conservative estimation, there are 200,000 cases were killed by the earthquake. And because of the displacement, which means the relocation by earthquake, because their living areas were destroyed a lot, and their houses were destroyed, and they had to move on to other places. So based on their estimation, that was about 1 million to 1.5 million based on the estimation. And $14 billion, which is a huge amount of money. Based on their budget, I mean, the Haiti is not very popular. I mean, they are not very wealthy country. The losing 14 million was compatible with a very, very large proportion of the budget, their annual budget. So these are the damages in the Haiti, but you may not feel these are realistic because these are not very well connected with our experience, and we may not imagine based on that number. But let's see. So proportion of people died 2,000, 200,000 by earthquake and COVID-19. The population of the Haiti is, wow, because Haiti is not huge country. So this is always have a hard time to on the number. So this is the nine, 천만, 10만, 100만. So 9 million, and the 9 million and 949,332. So always, I spent my life, my 13 years in the United States, but still it's hard to like, count the number at a glance. But 2%. If on the 200,000 cases of the deaths were recorded by that earthquake, it means that that's the 2% of the total population lost by 2010 earthquake. So that was why I mentioned that if there were 1 million deaths recorded in South Korea, that's compatible with the 2% of the population. And so in the United States, for example, we will cover more about the pandemic situation next week, but the population of the United States in the 2023 by 2003, because of the COVID-19, around the 1.3 million people were killed because of the COVID-19. And that's 0.41% of the total population of the United States. But you may remember and you may learn that, and we will learn more next week, that amount of the people killed and that amount of the loss of the population impacted the whole country a lot. And that's happening, and that has been impacting the US population and US economy still and the future as well. So again, it's compatible with the 1 million in South Korea now, and it will be a real catastrophe because the Korean University Sejong campus is located in the Chungcheongnam-do, which is Chungcheong, the southern part of the Chungcheong province. Always very curious why this is the western part of the Chungcheong province, but anyway, that's the terminology we have set up by the law. But anyway, in Chungcheongnam province, we are located in the Sejong city. We can see the Sejong city here around here, but the population of the Chungcheong province where it's located, neighbors are located in the Korean University Sejong campus. The population is around 2.1 million. So it means that by that earthquake, about half of the population of this province or all killed about because of that disaster, which is very, very high number, right? So that's why the reason why I'm covering the earthquake and tsunami very seriously, because there was very huge incident in Haiti. And usually the earthquake and the tsunami, these are not that huge, but sometimes based on the magnitude of the earthquake and magnitude of the Richter scale, there are many of the historical events that impacted many of the countries very harshly. So, a little bit more about the context of the background of the Haiti. So there is the sugar triangle in the history. So these are the area of the located Haiti. So this is the United States, and this is Latin America, and there are several countries near the Florida and those countries. So Haiti is one of them in this circle. And in Sugar Triangle, there were very huge sugar plantations, labor for sugar production, and the slave businesses. So historically, the Haiti has been located in the very key point of the sugar trades, and sometimes it was they suffered from the colonialization, and because there was very very important part in the trades. And based on the history of the Haiti, This is the one of the country with the Caribbean country, and it was the colony of the France from the 18th century. And as I showed in the previous slide, there was a part of the sugar production, the triangle of the sugar trades, and there were very key part of the slave business from the Africa to Haiti, and they were very highly intensive labor sugar production, and 50% of death rate within 1 year upon arrival, the people. So in summary, they are very, very deprived country, has very on the little and very weak background and weak on the ground of the economy. So 1841, 1801 achieved the independence from the France, and but even though they got the independency, they still have the dependency to the France because it has the damage of the war. Rich people moved to France, and they agreed to pay very large amount of the money to pay as the compensation for the deaths of the French people. Usually because of the plant owners were killed in the war, and then it was equal to the 300% of the GDP of the whole Haiti of the year. So that might be very huge, right? Because of the war and the compensation to the France, they had to pay about the 3%, no, 3 times as high as their GDP. Oh, that's very hard to imagine, right? It means that they cannot. So they have the taxation of the whole year, but they cannot use the budget, at least for the 3 years. So they will not have any of the budget for the country. But in reality, without the budget, they cannot survive. So they had to pay that compensation for a long time, very, very long time, over the long times of the past years. And per 5% year, there was the interest. Wow, that's huge. So there was very big part of their history. Seeing that there was not very, very favorable situation for that country. And based on the Lihitter scale, the 9 is the maximum number, but Lihitter scale 7 is very considered as a very, very huge number. So 95% of the hospital collapsed, and then even the palace, I mean, like the Blue House of the South Korea or the White House of the United States, the palace of the president that was destroyed as well. So we can see that usually the palace, I mean the residential place of the president or the kings are very, very well protected and the constructed a very, very good way. But even the palace, I mean, the government headquarters and the department, these were destroyed because of the earthquake. So you can imagine that the magnitude and the size of the damages were very, very huge. So after the evacuation, anyway, so they were the governors and they were the wealthy people. So many of the wealthy people they always have the many types of the alternatives, so they can go to other country and they can move to the safer places within the country because they have the much the cash. But for the vulnerable population, as you learned before, their resources are very limited, and then they are living and they are temporarily living in the evacuation area. And these are the tents they were provided, but you can see that these are not very, very safe and not the public hygiene may not be very well guaranteed. So especially for we will learn more about the gender. So there are the gender inequality. I mean, based on their culture, they still have the very conservative family style and the family culture, and patriarchy is a very also very strong culture in that country. So the vulnerable population will be in more vulnerable condition, which means the worsen the pre-existing social inequality and the woman's place in the gender, the global economy. I mean, income and the state support inequality were very, very well placed in the Haiti as well and gender roles and responsibilities, which means the woman stayed at home a lot as a homemaker, and the men were working as the outside of their family, and they were working as a breadwinner, and they would have been more exposed to the opportunities and the aids from the government as well. So the NGOs, the NPOs didn't care much about the relatively the woman's capacity, but focused on their roles in the general recovery of the country. So these were the main shortcomings of the A's they got. So also, not only in the Haiti, there are many of the countries showing the same example. So in those types of the evacuation area, you can see that the doors are not very well locked, and there were not the capacity or the safety places and the so distances. So there are, which means they're very easy. They're very easily the introduced by others. So there are the trespassing cases, and there are many of the intruders as well. And there were very high reports of the sexual abuses for the woman staying in the evacuation area, especially for the single mothers and the young girls. There were very highly chance of the reports of the sexual abuses. And usually in the developing country or the less developed countries, the governments are not always, but not always, there are the very strong government and have utilizing the elite system because they do not have the social very well developed social infrastructure and education opportunities are not well spread out to the general population. So very limited group of the people, they are educated very, very well. So they are used as the elite, used as source to increase personal power. So elite, the small amount of people who got the power, they utilized and this opportunity to increase and raise their power. So they have the social class-based hierarchy and a very tiny number of the elites ruled the whole country in Haiti. And after the disaster, the system was destroyed, but elites were not responsible to them on the matters. So, in one hand, that's a natural disaster. So the elites, they didn't make the tsunami and they didn't make the earth, but based on the system, they were on the rulers of the system. And in case they had the better evacuation criteria or some of the general regulations about the structure. I mean, the architecture structure law showing that but if they can have the resistances to the external the earthquake or tsunami, probably in assumption surely probably there would be the lower tolls of the deaths because of the earthquake. So this is a state some the arguable on the debatable the statement, but there would be some of the shortcomings of the elite system. All right, so not only for that generation, so after 2010 earthquake in Haiti, so after several years in the following generations, there are many of the negative outcomes as well. So risk of the very preterm birth, which means that the babies are taking the births before the full term of the pregnancy, the increase in the chance of the low birth weight and underdeveloped functions of the babies. And the rates, I mean the proportion and the possible chance of the preterm birth are increased, and the mean length of the birth they are decreasing as well. And the risk of the short birth length, yeah, there's a lot, and risk of the very short birth length, this is raising up as well. So it means that these are just focused on the birth, the result of the birth only, but there are more risky. There are more risky births, increasing the chance of the infant mortality and the mother's mortality. So after the disaster, there are many of the big burdens and the very big pressures of the outcomes in the next generations as well. So what will be in the Haiti's future at the point in time? So now this is 2026 and still they are suffering from the damages of the 2010 earthquake, which is very, very sad and which is a big tragedy. All right, so that was the example of the Haiti, which was the underdeveloped country and the less developed country. But we will see many of the commonalities, I mean, many of the similarities in Japan, but there are many of the differences in Japan. All right, so let me pause a little bit and we will come back in the cases of the Japan again. All right, see you very soon in the next video.